Can GenAI tools like Cursor, Claude Code, and Copilot really speed up maintenance tasks? What does it mean for developers if GenAI tools can complete maintenance tasks on their behalf in minutes rather than hours or days? Are we all destined to work back down in the salt mines? And what kind of limitations might there be on GenAI success in your organization? Hello, and welcome to the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so now. That way you can stay up to date with all of the cool stuff that's happening in the channel. I'm Steve Smith, I'm Cornish, and I'm the Global Head of Modernization and Platforms at Equal Experts. I'll be your host for today. I'm afraid Dave Farley isn't available. He's lost a bet to me, again, so he's doing some Commodore 64 programming for me, so I can finally have infinite lives and bubble bobble, so I can finally complete that game. GenAI has privacy risks, an inherent bias against underrepresented minorities, it has environmental costs, and it increases the concentration of power amongst a few large tech companies who I personally detest. And it's reshaping the world in ways that are profoundly amazing and horrifying, depending on how you look at the world in any given moment. I'm fond of saying, I don't love everything about this world, and I have to live in this world, and I think that's especially true of GenAI. It would be a mistake for any software developer right now to not be thinking very hard about the impact of GenAI upon their working practices and upon their future. My co-founder at Equal Experts, Ryan Sikorsky, was an early visionary in GenAI software development. He was using it in anger far earlier than most people. And I vividly remember the first time that he demoed Cursor to me on a code base well over a year ago now, and it completely blew my mind. I saw application code configuration, deployment pipelines, telemetry generated in minutes. It was like watching years of my career flash in front of my eyes. I thought of all the differentiating services I've worked on and how GenAI could have played a role in that build work. And I also thought of all of the non-differentiating services I've worked on and asked myself, why couldn't GenAI have done all of that for me? I didn't have a good answer for that. I thought of the trade reporting gateway that I was the tech lead on for over 6 months at LMAX. It was essentially a translation engine, managing different protocols to different banks, different integration points into different clearinghouses, so that our trading exchange could report trades in near real time. Why couldn't GenAI do all of that now, given the specifications from those banks and those clearinghouses and from our own exchange? The economics of software development have been changed forever. Even if the AI bubble burst today, yesterday's GenAI tools, if left unchanged, would have profound implications for developers forever. The future is here. It's very unevenly distributed. And personally, I think that jagged, uneven distribution will continue for some years to come. Maintenance mode is when demand for change declines from high to low and onto zero for a live service. It's when the rate of maintenance tasks, the rate of defect fixes, platform upgrades, security vulnerabilities overtakes the rate of value-adding changes that your product managers care so much about. Working on maintenance tasks might also be known as BAU tasks, keeping the lights on, or everyday support in your organization. This is the very definition of non-differentiating work. And maintenance work is a perennial source of frustration for product managers and senior leaders when teams lack the capacity to start new propositions and or reduce costs, because teams are at least perceived to be spending so much time wrapped up in maintenance work that doesn't add a lot of value. It's a simple equation for a lot of people. The more time teams spend on non-value-adding work, the less time they have available for value-adding work. For some time now, enterprise organizations have been asking me and my colleagues at Equal Experts about the role GenAI could play in maintenance work. A CTO at a financial services organization has 40 services and over 40 teams. Their InfoSec folks installed a new security scanner that quickly identified thousands of vulnerabilities in third-party software libraries used across this financial services company's technology estate. And as each month went by, the scanner identified up to 50 fresh new vulnerabilities that also needed patching. The CTO rightly asked us, could GenAI speed up the patching of these vulnerabilities? My colleague Chris Rutter spent months speaking with customers and colleagues to understand how GenAI is impacting maintenance work. His key insight is AI can speed up maintenance, but only within the limits of your delivery process. AI coding assistants like Claude Code can dramatically increase coding speed, but if you have slower assurance activities downstream, like end-to-end testing, like change approvals, then your gains with GenAI will be limited. Here's a made-up example of a team with a few engineers and a backlog of security vulnerabilities. Let's assume it takes them 2 weeks to find and fix all of those vulnerabilities. Then it's a week of end-to-end testing by a central team and a week in change approval land before a live deploy. Same as it ever was. Claude Code, Cursor, Copilot could absolutely reduce the effort here in triaging findings, explaining to developers how unfamiliar code works, and making the repetitive changes needed to patch third-party libraries. A lot of this can, of course, be done by deterministic tools like Renovate, but GenAI tools can go much further than that. Of course, you do lose determinism there.
Let me pause there and say thank you to our sponsors. We're extremely fortunate to be sponsored here by Equal Experts, Transfic, and Octopus Deploy. Equal Experts is a multinational consultancy built on applying the ideas and techniques that we talk about here to build great software for their clients. All of these companies offer products and services, though, that are very well aligned with the topics that we discuss on this channel every week. So if you're looking for excellence in continuous delivery and software engineering, do click on their links in the description below and check them out.
And the gains with GenAI aren't always so straightforward. Firstly, your company has to procure the GenAI tools that everyone's going to use. I am really doubtful of how this will happen in different enterprise organizations. I can think of companies I've worked in where it was hard for everyone to get an IntelliJ license or even access to Jira, and all of a sudden we're going to give everyone this ultimate power tool. I can imagine procurement people being quite frightened of giving people access to a tool in which one well-intentioned and inexperienced developer could blow an annual budget in only a few hours of light-hearted coding. And I'm pretty sure that security teams are going to have something to say about using GenAI as well. On top of that, you're going to need to have the right technical guardrails and the right design system in place. If you have great designers, if you have great platform engineering, then I can imagine people turning policy documents or product ideas into live services extremely quickly. But there's a lot of foundational work that has to happen there. Back in our made-up example, reducing the coding time from 2 weeks to 1 day sounds impressive, but there's still another 2 weeks in that end-to-end lead time to go. You've still got 50% of your challenge remaining. Because your end-to-end testing is a week, your change approvals are a week, those teams might not be as au fait with GenAI. They might not be interested in improving lead time because they've got different incentives and different projects to work on. They aren't bad people, they just have different incentives to you. Assurance activities in enterprise organizations, like end-to-end testing or change approvals, are often manual or semi-automated. They're expensive to run, they're slow to change, and they're a bit scary to automate. The good news is GenAI can absolutely lower knowledge barriers here and simplify how these workflows can be automated. We've known for decades that a delivery team should build its own unit tests and its functional tests to reduce the load on a central testing team and speed up delivery. Creating an effective functional test suite can take a long time. It's a lot of investment because it requires really deep domain knowledge and some great API designs. And AI coding assistants can definitely help engineers to understand the domain, quickly generate high quality tests, push some scenarios downstream into observability dashboards, and also make it easier for central testers to be embedded in delivery teams where they can really shine. Back in our example, using AI in automated tests could reduce that testing time from 1 week to 1 day. Moving testers back into delivery teams allows them to focus on exploratory testing of differentiating product features, not ticking every little box themselves the developers have already ticked. We do still have that week of change approvals to think about though, don't we? AI coding assistants can apply gentle pressure downstream to rethink processes that slow down value add, like a change approval process where every live deploy must be a CAB meeting, my favorite kind of meeting. Maintenance tasks can be turned into standard changes, which in the ITIL v3 service transition spec means they can be pre-approved electronically for live deploy. Continuous delivery is entirely compatible with ITIL. It means you can free up your change managers to concentrate on those big, scary legacy system releases that have to be orchestrated across many systems overnight, that have huge business risks, that only happen a couple of times a year. That definitely needs a cab, not the patching of some security vulnerabilities in some microservices. In our example, automated CI/CD pipelines, testers embedded in delivery teams, and self-service standard changes all powered by AI mean maintenance tasks can be completed end-to-end in a day rather than in 4 weeks. GenAI can play a huge role in reducing the end-to-end remediation time for maintenance tasks, but it's important to remember that this is really an organizational challenge, not a technical challenge. Cursor, Copilot, Claude can all make maintenance work so much cheaper and so much faster, but you've got to automate those downstream workflows and rethink those assurance processes if they're going to have a really big impact and free up people to spend more time on value-adding work. Next time I'm here, I'll cover another engineering topic. But first of all, Dave has to finish that Commodore 64 programming for me. I told him to focus on poke commands because level 57 of Bubble Bobble completely sucks, but all he's done so far is make the screen change into a funny color. Thanks for watching.